afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies.
Good afternoon.
How y'all doing today?
All right.
Good.
We're looking at the weather.
Wonderful.
Soggy. I did not know y'all had a river that ran through Gallows Bay.
Yes, Gallows Bay. Welcome to the Gallows Bay River. You are allowed to go, wakeboarding and all that stuff.
Okay, you sure can.
But I will tell you, get a penicillin shot before and after, because I can't tell you that's all water. It may be partially sewage water. Today now, speaking of sewage, we got some things that we got to take out of our community.
Yes.
Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed. You ready for today's show?
Yes, let's do this.
All right.
St. Croix presents Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed, a radio drama about child sexual abuse. It contains subject matter that may be triggering for survivors. Discretion is advised.
The people who get into this work often have a personal stake. They're coming from a place of experience. People do not seek help because they're afraid that they will look foolish, that no one will believe them, and they will be judged.
Good morning. It's Dr. Dennis in the morning. Today we are talking about child sexual assault in the Virgin Islands, and we are focusing on disclosure. Why don't children tell? Let's go to our next caller.
Dr. Dennis, you hear me right? You get your mic fixed yet?
Nothing was ever wrong with the mic, Sammy.
Right. I could tell a bad mic when I hear one.
Do you have a question, Sammy?
Yeah, what you think I call?
To test my mic. Please ask your question.
I gonna let that one go, cause I know you. You have a real nice heart to be helping children like this, and this walking easy. You did say you would share your story one day, but we ain't hear it yet. Are you talking about disclosure? I get an out the line now. Are you listening?
It started when I was 6. A businessman and a family friend started telling me how pretty I was, buying me ribbons for my hair, and helping my mother out around the house. My mother trusted this person completely and left me to go do some shopping one day. It started with touching, the next time kissing and more touching, until it was a complete act. Several times a month until I hit puberty. I told my mother. She didn't believe me. Then she said at least I was getting something for it. Once he found out my mother knew, the incidences increased, and so did the money she was getting from him. Who could I tell? I didn't think I could tell anyone. Next caller.
This is so heartbreaking. You just sharing your story will help a lot of people. God gonna be with you. I just don't understand why your mother would do that though.
To this day, I don't know either.
I sit beside grown people in all positions all over this territory. They carry memories and betrayals with them. They struggle with forgiveness, anger, anxiety, and depression. A perpetrator thinks he or she is keeping a secret with a child, a soul secret that stays long after the person's body has outgrown the interests of the victimizer.
Thank you for listening to Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed. If you or someone you know has been sexually abused, please dial 911 in an emergency or call the Women's Coalition at 340-773-9272 to find out how you can end child sexual abuse.
Good day.
Hi.
I don't even know how to intro or come in after a Silence Speaks episode. It's it's a little shocking at times.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, it's one of the ones that we need to have community participation in. So anyway, to the formal stuff. Welcome to the after show. Let's talk about it. A live call-in talk show to continue discussing the weekly episodes of Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed, a radio drama about child sexual abuse presented by the Women's Coalition of St. Croix. The stories are fiction based on fact. I'm your host, Sheelene Gumbs, and today we have an open forum. We would really, really like to hear from you on one of the most touchy parts of the problem. So, for those of us that are in the studio, and the number is 773-3636, 773-FM. If you're driving, use the phone in your car. Please don't talk on the phone and not pay attention, because we don't want anybody getting in any accidents, and the weather really is not cool today. It's not cool at all. But one of the parts about this is that a lot of times we don't know, because people take on different roles in the community, how much their past has affected them, even motivated them to do a lot of the stuff that they're doing. We have in the studio with us, which is the crew, and so the crew will be here and we will talk about this, but we really would like you to call in 773-FM. Any thoughts, concerns, any issues? If it happened to you, you need somebody to talk to, you just want to ask a question because you've been dealing with it in silence. This is why it's called Silence Speaks. You don't have to tell us the secret, but you can talk about it so that we can get the community on a healing path, because we would really, really like to see a lot of this. No, not a lot of it. We would like to see all of it stopped. You know, we don't want to have broken people and continue to have broken people. If we could start with some healing, because hurt people, healed people heal people.
That's right.
And so we really need to get to the healed people healing people.
Hold on.
Thank
Phone
you.
lines are already ringing. I'm 95. Turn on your radio. And they hung up.
Aww.
Okay.
That probably had a lot to do with the weather, but call back, 773-3636, FM.
Yep.
All right, I'm getting it, Slick, I'm getting it. You know, so in the episode, Dr. Dennis started telling her story. And I know that a lot of people are going to be upset with the mother, upset with the fact that nothing happened, but that happens a lot more times than we even care to admit. You know, nobody really knows the situations that have it. Obviously, there was some financial abuse going on right there. There was a lot of grooming of the parent that went on. And so it happens that way. Does it make it right? No. It doesn't make it right at all. Does it make it understandable? To some extent, but not really. You know, because your child's life becomes changed forever after that. It's very, very difficult for any child to get over that happening to them. And if they feel that now they've become an object, because, you know, that's pretty much prostitution. You know, the mother became the pimp for the child. You know what I mean? You're getting money because your child is having sex with somebody and you're getting paid for it. It's human trafficking is the new word that we call it, but it's prostitution. You become your child's pimp. When we have too many parent pimps in the community, then it becomes a problem, because then everything's broken and it stays broken.
Parent pimping. Wow.
I know.
That's sad.
Yeah, it just sounds
I know.
horrible.
It
Sounds
does.
horrible.
It does. It sounds bad,
really,
right?
really, really
but
horrible.
It is bad.
what is when you look at the definition of a pimp? What is that though? You know what I mean? When you look at the definition, and a lot of times we do this disassociation thing. You know what I mean? Because we want to make it more easier to digest. One of the reasons why silence is speaking at this point in time. We don't want to make it, we want to make it uncomfortable so that something happens.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and it's hard, you know, and a lot of times it gets down to it being, well, if I tell what happens, well, we saw what happened to Dr. Dennis when she told. Absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, she told that it happened more frequently.
Yeah.
So then, you know, is it good to tell? It's still good to tell, but if it doesn't help with one person, you tell somebody else.
Tell the right people.
Tell the right people.
Women's Coalition 773-9276.
Boom. I'm so proud of him. He got that off the bat. You know.
Miss Wise, how you doing today?
I'm good. I always get shaken up when I hear the episodes. You know, I read the script, we recorded it, but it still gives me goosebumps. It still sends chills down my spine, and I just hope that, you know, us creating this show is a platform for somebody to get help.
Definitely.
You know.
And a lot of help.
Yeah, because like you said, broken people hurt people.
Well, broken people break more people.
And you can't, you gotta get out of that cycle of dysfunction and abuse.
Tell me how do they get out of, give me some steps on how they get out of the abuse. How do they get out of, that bad cycle, this vicious cycle?
It's hard. Because if I'm 6, is that what Dr. Dennis said she was?
Yes.
If Dr. Dennis is 6 and she tries to tell somebody, you're not in a position really, apart from telling people and telling other people and telling other people to get out of that position.
So
you
the best thing is run
keep
your
telling
mouth.
people.
Run your
Right.
mouth. Tell on
Other
them.
people don't have a lot of power, but one thing they can do is communicate.
Right.
And they can let somebody know until somebody does something, right, to help them.
Absolutely.
And taking into consideration
You're seeing
that,
it now with the Me Too movement also.
right, which we're going to talk about
A
at
lot
the
more
end of the month.
communication. Social
Yeah.
media works.
It does. But it's also, you know, we have to take into consideration too that it becomes embarrassing. Do I want to walk around telling people that somebody's raping me? I mean, it sounds funny, then it's like, what you asking for it? Because one of the things that really, really annoys me, personal pet peeve of mine, is when we see young girls and they're like, oh, she's so hot. How'd she learn it? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
How did she learn that sex was okay? How did she learn to be hot? You are not born having sex, at least the last time I checked. You know what I mean? You're not born having sex. Somebody has to give you the information. And it comes, whether it's touching, whether it's exposing you to pictures, whether it's putting you in a room where you have to watch it happening to somebody else,
Yeah.
or if it happens to you and nobody does anything, and then all of a sudden it seems like, well, this has to be the norm, and then it becomes the norm. And then if you're getting something for it, like her mother said, then it becomes a source of income. Is that really what we want? That's not how we want people to be.
Absolutely not.
That's not how we want people to be at all. You know, and it's not culture, people.
Thank you.
Well,
Can you say that again?
It's not culture.
It's not the culture.
It's not the culture. It's a culture, but it's not the culture.
not
It's
our
the
culture.
excuse for the culture.
It's a crime.
It is.
It's a crime.
It's a crime.
It's the
not
wrong
culture.
C. Exactly.
It's crime. It's not culture. All right. So let me ask you a quick question, and this always runs across my mind. If somebody is listening, and that's just to expand more on it, if somebody is listening, other than calling the, telling people and stuff like that, what happens if they are in a situation where they're not allowed to make phone calls, they're not allowed to leave the house, everything they're doing is being monitored, and they fear of, I guess retribution, or what the right word would be, they're afraid of the punishment of telling somebody, and they have to, how do they get a secret message out? How do you get that send that signal up and get out? Like, I would like to give people ideas, because I can imagine somebody somewhere is living in fear and can't get a message out.
Remember last week we were talking about reporters, people who have to report.
Yeah.
So that could be the school nurse or the school teacher or your guidance counselor or your principal, right?
Yeah.
Those are
Absolutely.
all people that can help a young person when their only outlet is maybe just school. Right?
Okay.
The only outside people that the only time they get out is to go to school, because you have to go to school. And all of those people are mandated reporters. So that's what I would say to a young person. If you feel trapped, your parents aren't listening, or your parents are the perpetrators, then tell somebody at school.
Yeah, and if you're not comfortable telling them exactly what's happening, start to make comments about them seeing you later. Because if I say I'm going to see you later and then I don't see you, and I say that often enough, then it's going to raise a flag. Well, why is it that they're not coming back out? How come nobody's looking for me? You know what I mean? If they say they're going to meet me and they don't come, how come you didn't come yesterday? You said to meet you such and such a place. But, well, I couldn't come. Well, why you couldn't come? Well, I can't say. But I just couldn't come. If that happens a number of times, somebody's going to catch on that something has to be wrong. Because if you keep saying you're coming and you don't show up, then it starts to look very suspicious as to why you're not able to come. And even for grown people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're put in that situation as well, where you're being held hostage, and I can't even tell you the amount of crimes that is involved in, kidnapping and false imprisonment
It's
and
federal.
all the rest of it.
It is a federal crime. You're going to be in Puerto Rico, no Golden Groves.
And all the
jail.
other things that come through. If you are able to say something. I remember, I think it was probably 2 years ago, this air hostess, saw this child on the plane, and she left a message for her in the bathroom when she had to go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? She put, write yes if you need help. And so she wrote yes and left the note in the bathroom. So you could do things like that if you think something is wrong. If you know they're going to be someplace where they're going to be in a safe space, short questions, not long questions. You don't want a story. You just want to be able to be in a position where you're able to offer that person some help, or at least be an outlet so that they know that they're not invisible. Somebody is paying attention.
Absolutely. Let me tell you guys about a story. I don't want to put nobody's business out there, but it was shocking to me. We were, every Sunday we go out to Buck Island and stuff like that. And there was a time a few years back where somebody was going with us, and I think they had to run home to get something and come back. And when I think their boyfriend called them and said, hey, there's an emergency at the house, or something's happening. And they ran to the house. When he got to the house, he locked the top lock, locked her in and left. And then called us and was like, hey, I won't be able to come back. My man has locked me inside the house. And it was
That's crazy.
It was, yes, that's the basic, basically that was our reaction. That's crazy. But like we was having a conversation before we got on air, just being desensitized. At that point, I think we was already desensitized to it. At first, it was a shock for me and everybody around. Was like, wow, how, when and where. But on another note, it was also, I think we kind of shrugged it off as, well, that's in their house. They have issues.
Yeah, I was messing with your Buck Island trip.
Yeah.
Messing with our own personal self-interest, yes.
Right.
So why I put all that out there is that we also have to be mindful of, not letting Buck Island get in between, a bigger problem or, realizing there's an issue and not, saying, oh, well, that ain't got nothing to do with me. That's them, that ain't me.
And that is the problem, is that especially with child sexual assault or even sexual assault on a whole, domestic violence, any of those things, right, is that it's not a problem unless it's our problem. You know what I mean? Like, most people, when we put up the wall for domestic violence, people they're not aware of how many people have been killed due to domestic violence.
Yeah.
Right? So they're always shocked, and we don't have a complete list. You know what I mean? We don't know all the people, but even when they start to see, like, there's, I think, 53, 55 pairs of shoes, or maybe it's in the 60s actually.
It's in the 60s.
It's in the 60s. I think it's 63 pairs of shoes that we put down. And, some people, especially this last march, is like, I didn't realize it was that many people. But it's like that, it's like mental illness, it's like everything else that happens in society. Unless it becomes my problem, it's not a problem.
True.
It may be the problem, but it's not my problem. So I'm not going to do anything about it. But when it starts affecting you, like this problem that wasn't your problem with this person that you became involved with, that it wasn't a problem that children were getting raped as children. Now you try to get into a relationship with them. They can't be intimate. They can't have conversations. Their whole concept of what intimacy and innocence and truth and relationship and communication is completely warped because they never learned it. If I learned to what happens in the house stays in the house kind of story, and so I can do anything to you, you can do anything to me, but nobody's supposed to know story, which really doesn't work. I'm not even sure that a healthy person came up with it. I think that was a perpetrator, honestly, because then why would you want to keep secrets in the house? It's about pride, but pride is what's been killing us. You know what I mean? Especially when people are getting hurt. And 773-3636, because it really is a call-in show today.
Carrie, what's going on?
Hi, it's Carolyn. I'm here. I just wanted to tag back to Slick's question about what can somebody do. I think one of the whole purposes for this whole entire series were to get people talking and for victims and survivors to realize that they have a voice and that they need to get help. And we see people come into our offices all the time that it's happened to them 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and they've never ever gotten any kind of help for it. They never told anybody. Maybe they've pushed it back so far in their memory that they don't even remember it, and then something triggers it and it comes out and they remember it. It's important for them to know that we are here for them, that we have other private therapists that are here for them, but that people need to talk to other people, and they need to really actively seek healing methods, because I think we've also seen people think, well, I'm over it, I've gotten over it, I've done this, but then they enter into these unhealthy relationships. They repeat the same relationships that they were part of when they were younger. Their children then become incest victims because maybe they get into a relationship with somebody who then commits a crime against them.
Right?
Because
they're
that's
karmically attracted to that kind of dysfunction because that's all they know.
So not actively seeking help and seeking some sort of counseling or therapy, I think, is really crucial in people healing from this child sexual abuse that we're talking about.
Colony 5.
It's like, I want to say something. What about people that have been abused and have gone for help, and then they get scared and they back off? I know they're embarrassed to come back to the office, but they feel they won't get help again. Are y'all still there for them?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so
Every
glad you
time.
asked that. Yes.
Every time. And a lot of people are embarrassed, but we know For domestic violence is an average of 7 times. For child sexual assault victims that are adults, it can be even more than that because it breaks down into bits and pieces. It shows up as other things, but we're always there for them. Even if it takes, in some cases, 15 years for them to come back, we will never turn anybody away. We will never turn anybody away. But it's hard. It's hard for victims to come back and talk, but we will not turn them away because we understand that that's what happens. You know, it does get embarrassing, it does get hard, and we are there for them. If they want to call, instead of coming into the office because they're embarrassed, they can do that as well.
We are there to be non-judgmental. We are there to accept people where they're at. We recognize that people are at all different kind of positions and levels in their healing and in their health, and sometimes people need to step away from it for a little while and be able to come back, and hopefully we can be there for them. That's our goal anyway. Our goal is always to be there for the survivor at whatever time they feel like they need to talk to somebody.
Thank you, because there are people out there that needed to hear that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for calling. Yeah, it's embarrassing, like we were talking about before. It's embarrassing because, you know, especially for men. It's extremely embarrassing for men. It's embarrassing for women. It's embarrassing for anybody because it's a violation of yourself. You know, breaking into a house is one thing, but breaking into your body is even worse. You have to walk around with that.
Let's finish this conversation we're having off air. Now, we were talking about men having sexual relations with a woman over 18, or, you know, 20 odd, you know, older woman, way older when they're 13, 14, and 15.
It's still rape.
It's considered rape.
It's still rape.
When they're 13, 14, 15?
It's still rape.
Yeah. They're still
I'm just saying.
babies.
It's still rape. You know,
I'm just saying.
We try to use the, well, it's a guy thing, or it's a man, he shouldn't consider it, or anything to that effect, but it's still rape, no matter how you put it. If I can't consent, it's rape, period, end of story.
Consent is the age of 16 in the Virgin Islands, and so anything under the age
Only
of
if the person's 5 years older.
If they're 5 years older. So, you know, a 16 and a 16-year-old, or a 16 and a 17-year-old, that's one thing. But if it's a 16-year-old and a 22-year-old, 23-year-old, that 23-year-old can go to jail.
Right.
So let's be clear about that.
Very. You know, and it's not okay, because like we were talking about before we got on the show, if I'm 13 and my girlfriend's 25, I'm forever looking for somebody to look after me. I can't get into a relationship with somebody my age. I'm constantly looking for a mother. So I'm going to move into her house. She's got to feed me. She's got to wash my clothes. I'm looking for a mother. I don't have the ability to be a partner because that is not how I was introduced to a relationship. You know what I mean? And so I have to now unlearn all of that information and go through my own process of healing in order for me to be able to be a partner in a relationship. Because now I'm accustomed of having a mother that's a mother and a mother I can have sex with. You know what I mean? And we don't want that. You know what I mean? We don't want that. That is not the goal at all.
So all the guys that had sexual relations with women above, way older than them, need to come to the Women's Coalition now?
They can call. I don't know if they're going to come in. And, you know, it's going to be a pride thing. But, yes, we need to talk about that. Especially if you realize that every relationship you've been in as an adult has not worked. Call somebody.
Yeah.
Because you may not even be thinking about the fact that why is it that every time I get into a relationship, something goes wrong? You know what I mean? What is it that you missed? What is it that you're not paying attention to? What is it that you have to unlearn within yourself? Because you were hurt, and even though your body responded, it doesn't mean that you were emotionally attached. And though your hormones and puberty may kick in and your body start to say, whoa, this feels really, really good. You know, I didn't know I was that good. I didn't know, none of that. You know what I mean? If the relationships that you have after that are problematic, you may need to check yourself. Seriously. Seriously.
Wonderful. Is it 6 o'clock already? Jesus.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, Lord. So as usual, you know, we run out of time all the time.
All the time.
You know,
time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
I actually like Caroline. I'm over here working because I was about to go grab the camera and stuff.
So
I want to talk to all right. So I talked to Sheelene. This is a group effort. I talked to Ravon. I talked to Caroline. Let's talk to Debbie. Debbie, come on over and chime in.
Yes.
Because you said today's a group effort.
Yes, it is.
This crew love.
Yes.
Okay.
time, big
So how do you? What's your take on the subject?
Well, I feel like what's really important, in addition to everything that's been said here, is the part about believing the survivor. I think it was really heartbreaking, even though I've read it, I've seen it, I've heard it before, but every time Dr. Dennis says, I told my mother and she didn't believe me, you know, I feel that. I imagine what it must be like for some child who is 7 years old, who has finally been able to bring whatever communication skills they have into play to be able to say or to show or to point to or whatever, somebody's touching me someplace where it doesn't feel good. And then to have a grown person who is supposed to protect you not believe you, or make it into a business where your body now becomes something that brings money into the home. And so that's something that happens if you're 7 or 8 or 9, but you could be 47 or 59, and that still resonates inside of you if you don't, as everyone here has said, get some help. Counseling is so important because you need to know that it was not your fault, that that person who didn't believe you is responsible for their behavior, that person who violated you is responsible for their behavior. You were a victim, and you can get help with that, and you can feel whole again. You can, it's possible, but you have to reach out. You have to find a way to go to that place inside of you that really needs the help, and bring that forward and contact us, because you know there are trained, compassionate people who want to help you.
Amelie 5.
Hi, yes. I really enjoyed listening to the Women's Coalition workers talk about Silence Speaks, Secrets Revealed, and I always like to make connection with another piece of literature. Recently, Ntozake Shange passed away, and she has an excellent piece called Crack Annie, where it really discussed the mother, because of addiction, using her daughter's body as an ATM. So very important to discuss and look at other places where you can be inspired to speak out against this violation.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
Yep.
Thanks for calling, caller.
Thank you.
Essence actually has ending sexual violence piece in their November issue as well. So it's something that everybody's touching on, because we're starting to see the residue from this generation that's come forward, where all the information is out now, that everybody's talking about it, not just the Me Too movement, but in everything that's going on. It's just to the forefront, because it's really, really, nice word for messed up. You know, it's messed up the way we relate to people. It's messed up the way we communicate. It's messed up the way our community starts to grow. It's messed up the things that happen. It's affecting the murder rate. I mean, we had this, I remember, I don't know why I can't remember her name right now. Her name was in my head a while ago, but they're fighting to get her out of jail because she was pretty much a teen prostitute and being sexually assaulted for a very long time. She killed the abuser, and now she's in jail for murder. Like, nobody took into consideration he was raping her for years. She got tired of it. She got big enough. She got strong enough. She killed him. She's gone to jail. You know what I mean? So, and how is that fair when nobody did anything?
Isn't that like, isn't at that point she's temporary? That should be temporary insanity.
It should be self-defense is what it should be. You know what I mean? I don't have to be crazy to stop.
Definitely, it has to come into.
Well, I mean, but why would, and I hear what you're saying, and that's probably something they could use.
There's a lot of abuse, like you said, there is abuse.
Right.
Why not?
Right.
You know, she's
because the victim's always guilty until proven innocent.
They criminalize a child, right?
Uh-huh.
Turned a child into a prostitute. When she defends herself, she's nothing but a prostitute, right? So somehow this perpetrator who's preying on her has more value than the child that's been molested and victimized all these years. Mm-hmm. You know, when you stand up for yourself, I mean, that's what they're trying to say with the Me Too movement. You don't want to believe 60-something women that stood up against this one guy who's been raping, you know, and drugging people for decades, right? For longer than I've been alive, right? which is like a really long time. You know,
That you look good.
that's so right. That's so
track
messed up.
record.
That's so messed up, and that's why the tide is turning. Like you have to believe survivors, believe victims, because you know 9 times out of 10 they're not lying, right? You have
Yeah.
to believe them,
Absolutely.
and you can't